He said I was crazy and that I'm unstable and that everyone knows I'm crazy and I need help and I'm deranged. He called me a crybaby for having my mother come when I'm an adult. He made fun of my upbringing and my background and said that my family were stupid hillbillies from the mountains. He was calling my mother names, making fun of her appearance. He called my mother a fat whore. And I thought that he was going to either snap my neck or that my head was going to hit an object that was in front of me.
And you were concerned enough for Mr. Poston that you wanted to make sure he didn't have to live with a deformed face, weren't you?
I said that.
Well, the so-called nose job killer recounting the moments just before she shot her boyfriend 6 times, claiming he was abusive. She feared for her life. Well, closing arguments just wrapped up, so this case now in the hands of the jury. Let's bring in former prosecutor, criminal defense attorney, guys, followed this case very closely, Bob Bianchi. Let's hear what she just talked about there. Again, she's laying out there this violent fight, and she is fighting for her life, basically. Did they present that effectively in court?
No, they presented it from the mouth of a person who has given multiple conflicting statements, from the 911 call to her bizarre and peculiar statement, Mike, that I've seen many statements in my career as a prosecutor. I'd say that tops one of the top 5 weirdest. But moreover, I think the most important witnesses in this case, Mike, were the old lady whose video testimony from the previous trial and her husband who testified in this trial. They lived upstairs. They were able to hear in the apartment. They could even hear her whimpering sometimes. And they were like, there was no violent argument. There was no violent struggle before those shots were fired. And in fact, the cops from the get-go said, this testimony she's giving is very inconsistent with the forensic evidence at this scene. To me, those are the killers, Mike.
Yeah. Sounds like she's in trouble there. Also this, from what we gather, one of the last witnesses for the jury to hear is Shayna Hubers. Again, that's the defendant, her friend and the victim's cousin, and she's reading a text message. So let's listen to it, and we'll get your take coming out.
I'm at his house in northern Kentucky. Ha ha, I've had a key for over a year now. Never asked for it back even when we broke up, LOL.
So that gets to the theme of stalker. He wants to break up. She won't let go.
Mike, the prosecution did a tremendous job showing the thousands of text messages where she won't let it go. His father, the victim's father, who actually had to go to her and say, leave him alone. He was speaking to members at his law firm and all sorts of his friends saying she's stalker crazy, like restraining order. And it's very clear that, to me, the motive was she was researching and, in fact, was accurate that on the day of the murder itself, he was about to step out and go on a date with this Ohio beauty queen. He wanted nothing to do with her, and she just refused that and continued to come over to his home. And you know what, Mike, my last point here, some of the statements that she makes, like, I gave him the nose job that he always wanted, or that, oh, the parents, what's the big deal? They're really rich. They can buy a new kid, referring to the victim's mother and father, are damning testimony.
Let's talk about what else the jury might be wrestling with. Defense expert testifying concerning Shayna Hubers' PTSD, borderline personality disorder. So there's an expert witness giving that to the jury. Do you think they're really wrestling with that as they get the case?
Yeah, great question, Mike. First of all, it doesn't amount to a legal defense like insanity. In fact, that doctor was very clear that she is not insane, and that is the legal standard. I think what it does, Mike, I know this may sound odd, I think the defense played into the prosecution's model that, yeah, she's a disturbed girl, and she's got this disturbed personality disorder, but nevertheless, it doesn't amount to a legal defense of insanity. So they just basically gave you the mental health explanation as to why she did what she did.
So real quick, you think the jury comes back quick and it's guilty? Is that your prediction?
I can't say how quick. My prediction, Mike, is unless you get one random odd juror, and sometimes that happens, that this is going to be a murder guilty, toot sweet, pretty quick.
Okay, we'll be watching. Bob, thanks again. Bob Bianchi on the story for us.